Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a jam-packed upload full of subscriber-submitted encounters out of the great state of Ohio. Before we jump into today's upload, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost you a cent. Click that like button and please leave a comment. Why? Well, because these things, they really do help the channel, and guys, they do matter. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload, shall we? Alright guys, so yesterday I discussed a little bit about a theory that I have about how these creatures, dogmen, I don't know about Bigfoot or crawlers because I haven't really thought about that. I haven't included them in the theory. I really honestly believe that these creatures can sense a feeling of despair, whether it be from a person, an individual, or a community as a whole. Appalachia, the Appalachia region, riddled with disappearances, shredded bodies, and people talk about hotspots. People talk about the LBL as this glorious hotspot. It's set up woods with creatures that live in it. There's creatures in every state and Canada, Mexico. Why aren't they hotspots? They are. They are. I believe these creatures, I don't know if they migrate. I don't want to use the word migration. I know a good friend of mine, Dark Waters, uses the word migration, and he may be right. But I believe they are opportunistic travelers. They travel where the food is. I don't think that's migration. A lot of encounters that are submitted, excuse me, usually come from the South, Ohio, Pennsylvania. Today I've got a lot of subscriber submitted encounters out of Ohio. And I don't know if we can classify that as a hot spot because so many people have come forth and shared their experiences, Is Michigan a hot spot? Taylor, Mississippi a hot spot? I don't like using that term hot spot because that means one location has more dogmen encounters and attacks or cryptid than others. Ohio is a very small state compared to Texas, compared to, New York. And I think it's just right time, right place, population, and possibly, just maybe, a sense of despair, a sense of dread is in the air, and these creatures are attracted to that. Enough of the BS talking. Let's get into some encounters, but I'd like you guys to think about that. Are there hotspots? Some may say yes, but why, if all states have encounters, are certain areas hotspots? Maybe portals? I don't know. I just know I don't like using the word, because to me it then takes away from encounters that happen in other states. Oklahoma, for instance, is seeing an influx of encounters. Does that make it a hotspot? No, that just means to me that more people are feeling comfortable to share. Let's get into it. All right, guys. Today's first encounter out of the great state of Ohio. I had actually shared this subscriber's interview about 2 weeks ago. It was a resubmit. I had interviewed him about 2.5 years ago. And I guess he was on someone else's show after mine. And then people thought that was a new interview, but it wasn't. I've got so many new subs that I figure it's kind of hard to go through 2,500 uploads, so I will occasionally share a interview here and there. But let's start Ohio with this. Jeff, my name's Jack Quinn. Feel free to use my name if you feel this encounter is worthy of your channel. I was an avid outdoorsman who loved to hunt and fish by myself, not so much since I found out what is really in those woods. This particular encounter happened about 4 months ago. This is an older experience, a couple years old. I was at my buddy's, we'll call him Mac, his cabin. It's located in a campground in Ohio. He's been staying there for year-round for the last 4 years. The cabin consists of an RV with 3 rooms built around it, with a double deck outside of the sunroom. Per rules, you can build, but you have to have an RV on the lot with the ability to hook up and pull it out if you have to. We first became aware of the presence of Dogman 3 years ago and started to investigate further. We've had multiple sightings of 7 different individuals as well as several grassmen or Bigfoot. On this particular evening, I had driven 45 minutes down to my friend's. It had been quiet outside all evening. We were having a spirited debate about things when I'd had enough. I decided to head home. It was getting late, 12:30 to be exact. I was walking by the monitor from the one outside camera when I heard a dogman's half growl, half bark, and it stopped me in my tracks. We both stayed silent, listening. Then we heard the familiar creak of the steps coming up to the door. The doorknob started to jiggle ever so slightly. We stayed motionless. All at once, the floor underneath our feet rose up. One had gotten underneath the cabin part. Now we are starting to panic a little because they have never been this brazen. They've jumped onto the roof before and thrown things at the cabin, but this was much more serious. So I went into the kitchen to peek through the curtain to check the back. We had heard noise outside of the band room window, which is the opposite door, so Mac went to investigate. We met back in the living room, and he was sweating and whiter than usual. He said he had gotten onto his knees and pulled up the blind in the sunroom, same side as the band room window, to see 2 large dogmen standing there. He said they didn't look at him but stepped backward into the shadows. For the next 3.5 hours, we were silent. Me in the living room watching the door with a .357 cocked and ready. Mac in the sunroom watching the sliding doors. and out onto the deck with a .45. We could hear them outside, and I still felt the floor raise up every once in a while, knowing that one was still under there. At around 5 a.m., I had to go home because I had to bring my grandchild on the bus, plus my other half would be leaving for work, and it was my job to get the little one on the bus and make sure the other two were on the bus. So, in a state of absolute terror, where the fear turns to anger, he covered me while I pulled the curtains open in the living room, raised the window, and we both yelled, "Come on, you SOBs, come and get some. We're tired of you." Then everything went silent. We waited another half an hour, then went outside. I got to my truck and covered Mac as he went back to the entrance of his cabin. The door was shut, and everything that was piled against it was put back in different places than they were, but back nothingless. Amazing how they are that skillful to do so. So then I drove home, freaked out all the way home, still terrified, got the kids on the bus just in time, and went to work. That had been the scariest encounter of my life. Thanks for all you do, Jeff. Jack Quinn. So, like I said, notice, he said this had happened 4 months ago. This is about 2 years old, this email. And Jack's super nice guy. It's kind of weird when people go onto other channels because then it causes like this riff, I think. I don't know. I don't care. I think it's their encounter. Share it as much as you can. But I think that people should know, hey, I was on this show. I was on this show. I think I'm going to start asking guests if they had been on another person's channel to share that. Say, hey, I was on this channel and shared this experience. If you've ever heard it, you're going to hear it again. Anyway, let's get into today's second encounter. Hi, Jeff. Hope all is well. Here's my encounter. Please use my name as John Boy. I'm a 50-year-old from South Central Ohio. My brothers and I have been running around the woods day and night since we were kids. It was late summer 2013 in Oregania, Ohio. We were planning a late-night catfishing trip on the Little Miami River. It was a pretty good hike to get to where we had planned to fish, about 30 minutes through a set of woods across the field and through more woods. Around 11 p.m., with only the moonlight and a couple of flashlights to guide us, we reached our destination, rigged our lines, baited the hooks, threw our lines out, and kicked back and enjoyed the nice cool air when our peaceful night was suddenly interrupted. By peaceful, I mean no crickets, no frogs, none of the usual sounds you'd expect to hear on a river on a warm summer night. We heard a loud howling roar from across the river. My brothers and I looked at each other, and before any of us could utter a word, there came a crashing from the woods across the river. A huge silhouette or shadow was standing at the edge of the woods close to the river's edge. All we could make out was this black shape standing at the wood's edge, just out of reach of our flashlights. It looked to be somewhat human-like, but much too big to be a man, and appeared to be somewhat hunched over. If I were to guess its height, I'd say 8 feet or so. We only saw it for a couple of seconds. Then another howling roar sound vibrated through my chest, and without a word, we jumped, grabbed our poles without reeling them, and started running back the way we had come. The hooks and lines getting tangled in the trees until the rods were pulled out of our hands by the trees and brush. We just left the poles, kept running. I think the poles are still in those woods to this day. We exited the woods a lot faster than we entered them. 3 grown men running like scared children. We have returned recently during the day and was going to fish there again, but felt an uneasy feeling that we couldn't make out, and we left. We agreed not to share to anyone about that night until now. I've spoken to my brothers and they agreed to tell you the experience. I believe Ohio is a hot spot for dogmen, And with the recent upload about the Ross County, Ohio brothers that took down a Dogman, I felt compelled to share my experience. Thanks, Jeff, for all you do. Keep up the good work and God bless. All right, guys. So just like Jack Quinn's experience, I get them fresh. And even though this encounter was sent to me 3 years ago, this was 3 years back. Jack Quinn's happened 4 months prior to him sending it to me. This happened a lot shorter of time. This was actually fresh in his memory when he sent me this encounter, and it is horrifying. He said I could use his last name, but I am not going to. That's my own. Hey Jeff, my name is Daniel B, and I'll be the first to tell you my full name because I know damn well what I saw and what truly happened on that day. And I know I may get crap for it, but I don't care. I'm telling you this about 5 days after it happened, so it is still fresh in my head because, you can wake up from a vivid dream with lots of details and an hour later go and tell someone that dream, and it slowly fades. Well, here's the encounter. The day was Wednesday, February 12th, 2020. I was coming home from work that evening, and my drive takes me about an hour to get home. I work from Columbus, Ohio, and live in Evansville, Ohio. So after leaving the big city and traveling through smaller towns, I'm left with a good 30 to 40 minute ride of nothing but back roads and farmland. They're full of woods and flat farmland. So anyway, right as I'm entering the last part of my way home, I turned off the highway and started heading toward the rural part. I'm listening to some music, de-stressing about the day, and all of a sudden, I get this bad feeling coming over me. I get nervous. I look in my rearview mirror, thinking a cop may be nearby or sitting by the road. I'm nervous because I am currently driving with a suspended license, so I immediately slow down just a little. Look down at my gauges to check if everything's good. All right, I thought, nothing wrong with the inside of the car, and due to past experiences, I look for the nearest driveway to stop and check and see if any of the tires are flat. I pull into what looked like a state park entrance with woods on both sides. I pulled onto the other side of the road. It was a flat grassed field. I jump out of my car and check each tire by tire, making sure the lights work, everything's good. I shrug my shoulders, happy, nothing's wrong, and go back to the driver's side to get in. Then, to my left side of me, out just the corner of my eye, I caught movement. I turned my head in the direction of this movement and had to squint and make sure that I was really seeing what I was seeing. I stared at this area for 30 seconds, making sure I wasn't seeing things. All of a sudden, I see this huge black mass moving around in the field, and from my standpoint, it looked like a large bull. Damn, that must be a prize-winning bull, I thought to myself. Maybe it had gotten loose from a nearby farm. It wouldn't be too neighborly of me to let it get away, so me being me, a careful type, I open the trunk, grab my aluminum baseball bat just in case it wants to be brave. I know how to herd cattle. My family in Kentucky raised them, and I've been around them my whole life. So I know how bulls can be very unpredictable. As I start walking towards this bull, I'm thinking to myself, do I really need to be doing this? Why are you doing this? Well, to answer both my questions, I was raised to look out for your fellow neighbor. Beside, that bull is probably worth a lot of money. So I continue to walk slowly and carefully, not to spook the creature, so it doesn't charge me. I relax my breathing and keep a tight grip on the bat and continue to walk forward towards this bull. I'm maybe 100 yards away from it, and all of a sudden this putrid stench hits my nose and starts to choke me up. I stopped, stunned by the smell, coughed in a response to it. And at that moment, what I thought was a bull turned around and looked right at me. My breath left my body and my eyes widened. I felt the strength literally leave my body. This creature had beady yellow eyes, about 6-inch pointed black ears, stained yellow teeth. Its gums glistened in the fading sunlight with saliva. Oh my God, I said to myself, still not believing what I'm looking at. Our eyes lock. The whole world stands still. Time stopped. All I heard was my heartbeat and a low rumble growl that this wolf-like creature just let out. This is a Dogman, I said to myself. This has to be, and it's as big as a cow. I suddenly remember my schooling, as in, do not make eye contact with a predator, as it will see you as a challenge. I bowed my head, held out my arm, showing that I'm backing away, and is no threat, all while keeping my eyes on it, making sure that it stays right where it is. It noticed. It raised its hind legs to piss. Great, I said. It's marking its territory, even more reason for me to get out of here. I must have been walking for what seemed like 5 minutes, thinking, I've got to be almost to the car, and I realized I had only taken like 20 steps backwards, making no progress. I'm still looking towards this creature, its eyes still fixed on me, still waiting for me to make any threatening noises or moves. My plan was to just ease back to my car and get out of here. All of a sudden, as if karma decided to show up and give me the biggest FU. Without a warning, I let out this biggest, deepest sneeze, and as soon as I jerked my head back to see this creature already charging toward me, my stomach dropped, my skin went clammy. God, I thought, I'm gonna die. This thing's gonna skin me. Quick thinking, I knew I'd never make it back to my car, and if I did, what would it do? Protect me from this thing? No way. So I decided right there and right then that I'm going out with a fight. I switched my stance, gripping my bat as hard as I could. I charged, running and screaming at this creature. This may seem stupid or unreal, but I was not going to die like a coward, and it really did happen. I don't care who doesn't believe it. The wolf was already 50 yards away, tongue hanging out, drool flopping out of its mouth. I could feel with each step it took, vibrating the earth. I had to think quick. If I try and hit it in the head, I run the risk of being bit or slashed with its razor-sharp claws. So I decided I'm going to go with it hind legs. They're our smallest part. Then just as soon as I had the plan, it jumped up and started running on its hind legs. 20 yards in closing. I only have one shot. I know it won't kill it, but it may hurt it or stun it enough to give me time to get to my car and leave. I let out one final war cry, and this beast roared, shaking my insides. The beast leapt for me. I swung my bat backwards and kind of slid down on my knees. Swung this bat as hard as I could, as I possibly could be aiming for Belt's left back leg. What? Okay, 20 yards in closing. I only have one shot. I know I won't kill it, but if I hurt it or stun it enough, it could give me time to get to my car and leave. I let out one final war cry. The beast roared, shaking my insides. The beast leapt for me. I swung my bat back and slid down onto my knees, swinging as hard as I could. I possibly could aim for this beast's left hind leg. There it is. Clack! I connected perfectly. I knew I had. I felt like I had just hit a 50-pound bowling ball. The force of the impact vibrated the bat in my hand so hard, I dropped it, letting it fly out of my hands. I heard this creature bellow in pain as it came to a stop. I quickly jumped up, looked back. It was on all fours. It was just staring at me with those hellish yellow eyes. Right then I knew I made a mistake, because now this creature is between me and my car. I cursed to myself for being so stupid, but at that moment I dared not take my eyes off of it, as I knew for sure now I had pissed it off, and it was going to kill me. But to my surprise, it looked at me up and down, and just nodded, almost as if saying, "You outsmarted me, live another day," or something like that. Then it hobbles off to the forest, confused and stunned. I picked up my bat and ran out to my car. Just as fast as ran to my car fast, I don't think my feet hit the ground. I got to my car, started it up, floored it the rest of the way home, white-knuckling the steering wheel, and the motor screaming until I got to my road. I threw the bat in a grassy ditch, pulled into my driveway. Took a few moments to collect myself and calm down before I headed in the house, to face my family, trying to think of an excuse as to why I'm in the condition I'm in. Taking a long, heavy sigh, I get out and start to head towards my front door when I heard this long, blood-chilling howl. I open my door and my wife is holding my 7-month son, just looking at me. I sat him down in my playpen and I tell my wife what had happened. "Why are you so pale, sweaty? You look like you saw a ghost. I hit a dog on the way home, honey. It scared me." "Oh my God," she said, hugging me. "Are you okay? Did you kill it with your car?" She asked, looking worried, looking me over. No, I didn't. I don't even think I had left a scratch on it. Thank you for your time, John. So that's a terrifying encounter. He must have used text on that one, because that one part where it said beast at the end there, and I had to reread it. It had said beat. That's an absolutely terrifying encounter. I just, to be honest with you, I don't think I'd even go in the field try to get this bull to Farmer Joe's. Bulls scare me. I've been around them the majority of my life. I've seen them. I've actually seen a bull. So this is crazy to me. I don't know. We all know bulls are very strong and definitely aggressive, but I've actually seen a bull ram a small farmall tractor, knock my great uncle off, trample him, almost breaking his back and putting him in the hospital. He's hospitalized for a month. That is insane. They are so strong. Then this guy goes toe-to-toe with a Dogman with a baseball bat. I guess, at that point where you're at that point and it's life or death, fight or flight, you've got no place to run. You just got to go forth. I guess that's what you're going to have to do, ain't it? All right, let's get into the next encounter. Hey, Jeff, this isn't much of an experience. However, it is 100% true. I'd rather not use our names for this. We live in a small farming community, and I teach at the local college. We live approximately 8 miles from where the famous 1990s Ohio howl was recorded. Yes, Bigfoot experiences, but we will save that for later. This could be a Dogman experience. Maybe you have an idea, or your listeners do. Sound asleep one summer night, I had the window opened approximately 3 to 4 inches. I had a small nightlight plugged into an outlet underneath the window to cast light in case I needed to get up in the middle of the night. Out of a sound sleep, I hear a howl so loud and guttural it rattled my chest. I was up and on my feet looking out that window. It was from that window it had come. To exit my room, I would have to pass that window, and I knew it would see me, but I couldn't see it. For the next several days, I had my 17-year-old daughter sleep in the living room next to my bedroom. In hindsight, I sound like an awful parent. By the way, my bedroom has 4 windows, a French door that leads onto a deck that overlooks the pond, 3/4 of an acre of lake pond with large fish. Nothing, absolutely nothing for days, so my granddaughter goes out to her own bedroom, top floor with windows that only face the front of the house. The 7th day I was sound asleep and heard nothing. My granddaughter heard the same growl howl so loud she thought it was in her room. She jumped up, ran down the steps, and when she looked out the door, she thought she saw a man standing on the doorstep, looking at the pond. Groggy, but yet adrenaline pumping through her, she thought it was her grandfather and turned around and went back to bed. It was not her grandfather. Oddly enough, the time that this occurred, we were the only 2 in the house. My husband was out of town for a few days on both occurrences. That may or may not have anything to do with it. Also, we raise marmon. So we are familiar with howls, growls, but during that time, all of our animals, including the marmas, were on our other farm. We are approximately 8 miles from Beaver Creek State Park, and we have a nature preserve that recently became labeled as a forest 3 miles from my home. Wow. That's terrifying. Any kind of encounter that has a child in it for me is terrifying as a dad, and I'm sure for a lot of you guys, it's terrifying for us as adults. These poor innocent children see these things, and they then think there are monsters. I know that if I had ever seen anything at such a young age, my parents wouldn't believe me. They never believed any experience I ever shared with them. And I had a lot of strange experiences happen when I was growing up. One happened, not Dogman, but paranormal. And this just shows that parents, guys, if you are a parent and your child sees something that just sounds so strange and bizarre, but they look at you and you can see fear in their eyes, trust them. Because I had an encounter when I was young, and we had an attic door. And the house that I grew up in before we moved to my granddad's house when he passed away, you'd walk in from the kitchen, so you'd go into the kitchen, the living room, and then this way to my parents' bedroom, a bathroom, my bedroom, hallway to the kitchen. It was almost like a circle. Basement, upstairs. The basement or attic door was across from the bathroom door. We're going apple picking. There's those locks that you have to slide and then click in and then slide back. I don't know what they're called. Locks. I click the lock, or no, I'm too small to click the lock. I can't click the lock. I knock at the door. Something knocks back. I tell my mom on the way to apple pick. My mom blows it off like I'm a liar. I'm not lying about it. I freaking heard it. I know what I heard. We go apple picking. My dad works shift work at the mill, paper mill. The next day, my dad's at work. It's me and my mom. We go to the toy store. We run some errands. We go home. My mom's got subs. We got subs, chips, some Birch Bear. And we get home and the door to the attic is open. Nothing can open it from the inside. It's got to be open from the outside. My parents are just freaks about locking their doors. They will double check the locks, triple check sometimes. So there is no way they unlocked that and left it unlocked. Something unlocked that door. Well, me and my mom were not there. I don't know how they unlocked it from the outside, from being inside to the out, but it did. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, remember I heard the knocking. She still shut me up. We called my uncle, who was a police officer. He came, looked around, da-da-da. But how do you, at that point, my mom should have been like, holy crap, you did tell me again what you heard. Tell your Uncle Bob what you heard. We need to, for some reason, children can still see that they can still see beyond that veil that we can't. I believe there is a veil. Sometimes these cryptids fall between that veil. Anyway, guys, thank you for all your support. Thank you for hanging out with me for a little bit this morning. I truly appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's first part of the upload as much as I did. I had a blast. Looking forward to Saturday night's live stream, guys. And I have so much fun with those. We have a ton of fun. Guys, be safe, be happy, be healthy. May the Great Spirit watch out for us all. May He guide us down that path that we call life. And I will see you a little bit later on for tonight's second half.